Some reports, still unverified, have been making rounds in the media. They suggest that the US President Donald Trump demanded access to the nuclear codes from the chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, allegedly to explore the possibility of striking Iran. Now, whether the story is fully accurate or not is still up for debate, but what stands out is the response attributed to General Kane. By all accounts, he calmly, professionally, and firmly refused. And despite apparent pressure, he seems to have held his ground. If true, this is more than just an isolated moment. It reflects something deeper, the essence of military professionalism. The idea that duty is not blind obedience, but responsibility guided by judgment, ethics, and long-term consequences. In democracies, militaries are of course subordinate to the civilian leadership. That's a foundational principle. But there's a line, an important one, between lawful command and questionable direction. And when a senior officer chooses to stand by his convictions, even under pressure, he doesn't just define himself, he sets the standard for the entire force. We have argued before on globalheadwinds.com that decision makers in Washington would do well to lean more on their seasoned experts, generals, diplomats, and strategists, rather than purely political appointees, especially in the matters of war. Take, for instance, the idea of a counter-blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Now, that on paper is a move that reflects strategic depth. Not just a tactical maneuver, but a pressure point that could squeeze Iran economically without a single shot being fired. Think about it. A sustained blockade would choke Iran's oil exports, the backbone of its economy. But it doesn't stop there. It also restricts imports, food, medicine, essential goods, even military supplies. And then comes the lesser discussed impact, the oil production itself. Unlike major oil importing nations, countries like Iran haven't invested heavily in large-scale storage infrastructure. Why would they? Their oil is meant to flow outwards continuously. But if exports stop, production doesn't immediately follow. Instead, oil starts piling up, storage fills, pressure builds. And within months, Iran could be forced to shut down its well. Now here's the critical part. Once certain oil wells are shut, reopening them isn't simple. In some cases, it's technically difficult. In others, they may never return to full capacity. That's not just economic pressure, that's structural damage. In that context, an indefinite blockade could be seen as a strategic masterstroke, one that compels negotiation not through destruction but through inevitability. And yet Iran's own responses, like threats to target undersea internet cables, risk further isolating it on the global stage. Any residual international sympathy is likely to erode faster, especially after the disruption to the global shipping routes. What we are witnessing then is a high-stakes game of patience, a geopolitical cat and mouse. And in such a scenario, professionalism matters more than ever. The ability of the military to operate within discipline, restraint, and clarity of purpose could very well determine how this unfolds. Because sometimes the most effective strategy is not escalation, it's control. The only real question is, will they be allowed to do their job without interference? If they are, the end of the conflict might arrive sooner than many expect.